I'm a dope. I'm a rodeo clown. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I believe so deeply in our Constitution.
I was for the Patriot Act.
You know that I am actually a libertarian at heart. I think the bailout is the right thing to do. I believe so deeply in our Constitution. I was for the Patriot Act. You know that I am actually a libertarian at heart. The $700 billion that you're hearing about now is not only, I believe, necessary, it is also not nearly enough.
There was one guy last year that was Ron Paul. When you were on CNN, you would act like he was kind of crazy, kooky guy. And
I still act like he's crazy, kooky guy.
well,
The Ron Paul Revolution. I think it's meant to be a catchy slogan, but I fear some of his fringe supporters are taking the word revolution too literally.
Hey Glenn, real quick, how did you and your network benefit from associating Ron Paul supporters with domestic terrorism?
When you were escorted out after asking him your question, Glenn Beck stopped, turned to the crowd, and started applauding.
What you're about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment. This is the Glenn Beck Program.
The man has total credence when it comes to the economy. The man does not necessarily have credence when it comes to the war on terror.
And Tim there suggests that we think of the economy, but not in foreign policy. You can't do that. They're one and the same. That's where all the money's going.
If you've seen any of the stuff that Glenn Beck has been doing,
He's on occasion is a demagogue,
To religious fanatics that are decapitating people.
Does Hitler come to mind?
For the love of our children. And they are preparing a Holocaust, the second Holocaust.
He has been
just
pretty
surpassed him.
discourteous.
What you're about to hear is the fusion of entertainment and enlightenment.
Earlier today, I had the opportunity to sit down in the Oval Office with the President of the United States. President Bush is a man who personally feels the pain of every lost soldier. I can tell you that the President has incredible passion and resolve.
Those weapons of mass destruction got to be somewhere.
That is the real story tonight. Back in a minute.
Now you understand. I mean, on one side it's like, oh, Ron Paul's a kook, and the next day I'm all for Ron Paul. The next day it's like, oh, the Patriot Act is, great, and then the next, well, the Patriot Act, no, that's bad, right? He's over there. Not only, it's not vacillating, it's getting control of this anger that the American people are having. And if you remember, we brought you to the Tea Parties. That's right, look at the previous shows. We brought you to the 9/11, Tea Parties. That's right, look at the previous shows. What you have is you got Glenn Beck coming in to co-opt, and it's not just Glenn Beck, it's Fox. He got paid $50 million to fool a bunch of the American people. When I say fool, to be like, oh, I'm a leader, I really care. It's always funny, the people out of power, in this case the Republicans are out of power, now they're all for small government. Yet when the Republicans were in, government tripled in size. Okay, Patriot Act, all this other stuff. Okay, now that the Democrats are in, it's like the Republicans, oh, we really care. Like the Democrats cared before. The Democrats cared about torture. Remember that? The Democrats cared about wars based on lies. Remember that? The Democrats cared about, the Military Commissions Act. And now what do you have? You have just BS and lies. When I say BS and lies, both sides are playing you like a sucker. They're playing you and they're playing your family. And now these globalist bankers are stealing from your great-grandchildren. Money that doesn't even exist, they're creating out of nothing. We talked about that. If you saw the first show, watch the first episode. I went over money. Second episode, I went over the Federal Reserve. These are the people stealing from you, putting your children into slavery. So anyway, what I wanted to show you is big march, huh? So big, biggest ever. And yet the media lied to you and said it was not that big. The biggest ever. That's by the Park Service, who are now part of Homeland Security. Isn't everything Homeland Security? They say sometimes that we got to look around because there might be a terrorist in every bush. I kind of think, there's a Bush, and I think like George W. behind every terrorist. Because that's what globalists do. They start division, and that's why they'll start this whole thing about, if you're against Obama, you're a racist, because they want that division. Divide and conquer. The Romans taught people, haven't you learned? Don't be divided, be united. Before this republic, Okay? Help save it for your grandchildren. So anyway, yeah, that was some stuff I wanted to show you. As far as, let's see, other things before we let you go, here's a little thing that you might have caught in the media, and nobody will debate Charlie Sheen on this, but here's Charlie Sheen, you know, and this has to do with Charlie Sheen wrote a letter, My 20 Minutes with the President, where he asked the President 20 questions about 9/11. So for this week's Moment of Zen, and when I say Moment of Zen, you have to learn that 9/11, let me ask you, could it have been a false flag terrorist event? Blame it on a bunch of cavemen. Can we see the caveman one more time? Yeah, they lie to you constantly. So anyway, here's Charlie Sheen asking the President. He's just got questions. Things don't add up.
No warning signs that I'm aware of.
And it was a revelation that the White House had no intention of making public.
President Bush was told in August that Osama bin Laden might be planning an attack involving the hijacking.
Could have predicted.
Nobody in our government, at least.
August 6th PDP.
I believe the title was Bin Laden Determined to Attack Inside the United States.
70% of family members' questions were never answered during the 9/11 Commission report.
Lee Hamilton and Thomas Keane said they were set up to fail.
I mean, I'm a member of the commission. It's a scam. It's absolutely disgusting.
The questions, Mr. President. The questions.
Building 7 ablaze at the moment and apparently getting ready to collapse.
Building 7, freefall collapse.
Well, no, there's number 7 coming down. The excitement and the fun that people get watching an old building being demolished, and they wired very carefully for days, and it's a very careful operation.
Third time today. It's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
The smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy.
We are getting information now that one of the other buildings, Building 7 in the World Trade Center complex, is on fire and has either collapsed or is collapsing.
The Pentagon. Vanishing airplane.
From my close-up inspection, there's no evidence of a plane having crashed anywhere near the Pentagon. The only site is the actual site of the building that's crashed in, and as I said, the only pieces left that you can see are small enough that you could pick up in your hand. There are no large tail sections, wing sections, a fuselage, nothing like that anywhere around, which would indicate that the entire plane crashed into the side of the Pentagon.
Firefighters and police describing explosions. A lot of them.
The secondary explosion. We've got numerous people covered with dust from the secondary explosion.
Just floor by floor instead of popping out.
It was like, if they had detonated.
Yeah,
if
detonated.
they were planned to take down a building. Boom, 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 boom.
Looks sort of like the building just demolished.
Even if there was no secondary explosives in the building.
Kind of like gunfire. You know, bang, 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 bang. And then all of a sudden, 3 big explosions.
Do you know if it was an explosion or if it was a building collapse?
To me, it sounded like an explosion.
Chief Albert Turry told me that he tried to get his men out as quickly as he could, but he said that there was another explosion which took place, and then an hour after there was another explosion in one of the towers here.
Sibel Edmonds, FBI translator, breaking her gag order.
All our intimate relationship with Bin Laden and Taliban. We did carry very intimate relationship with these people all the way up to September 11.
Bin Laden was spirited into this military hospital in Rawalpindi for kidney dialysis treatment. The military had him surrounded. They were saying that Osama bin Laden had to be watched carefully and looked after.
NORAD standing down. Where were the planes?
On now to one of the eeriest moments amid the carnage of 9/11. A mysterious plane was seen flying right over the president's residence.
The E-4Bs over New York and Washington, otherwise known as the Doomsday Planes.
It has never been officially explained.
Cell phones working at impossible altitudes. Solicitor General Ted Olson receiving phone calls that the FBI says were never made.
What happened during that call? This is the only information we have on these terrorists.
She was able to call him twice. How she could pull that off, we don't know, but she did.
These are the questions, Mr. President. These are the questions. on and on.